there once again. Let's check out another PlayStation 2 game. This is RC Revenge Pro, developed by Acclaim and released onto the world in the year 2000. It begins with some introductory screens, and this is a loading screen which gives us an idea of the game. Yes, in this game we control little cars, remote control vehicles, and hence the name RC Revenge. And this is the Pro version. This is exactly the same as RC Revenge, which came out on the PS1, only this is the PS2. You can see my game progress, it's not very far so far, and in the options you can load and save and adjust the audio, and you can even change the number of laps in the game and fine tune the controls from here. Let's check out those controls and familiarise ourselves, because this is the very first time I've seen this game ever, so I'm going to have to remember all this when I'm playing it. Checking out the time trials, we can see that most of those haven't been completed, and that's where you get most of the cars in the game. There's also a track editor, and the track editor means that we can construct our own tracks and race those, which is a magnificent feature. Moving on to the race, there's championship, single race, and of course time trials, where we can race any one of these vehicles, and all of those have different statistics. And the best one is the Dark Avenger that you saw. That's a sports car, and that has the best average statistics of them all. Let's choose that one for the very first look at this game, and this is the very first level. Let's check it out.
3, 2, 1, go!
RC Revenge Pro is a manic racing game where we have to manically race around a circuit, and a map of which is in the bottom corner. You can see we race around the race landscapes. It starts off in a tunnel, and we are in an underground base, it looks like, on this very first level. On the bottom right corner we have a speedometer which crashes down to 0 if we make a wrong turn, and the turning in this game obviously depends on the car. Some cars can turn very quickly and some have a very small turning circle, and so you'll have to get used to the very tight mechanics of these very tight racing game, because this is remote control car racing, so a lot of these cars will be very twitchy. Find shortcuts in the game, as we shall see later on, and it's essential to find those shortcuts as you're going through the game, because that means you can easily make up places, and it means you don't have to rely on perfect driving. You can see catching up to the back of the pack, those twitchy controls mean I'm almost outside of the barriers, and luckily there are no pits of death in this particular level, so we can't get stuck behind anything. All we can do is put that pedal down and try to catch up to those other players. As you can see, sometimes we can pick up collectables, including mines, and by pressing the circle button we can drop those onto the enemies. Pickups can affect us even when we're nowhere near them, and the cloud one means that we can strike lightning on all the other players, but they can do it to us as well. Most of the weapons are near range weapons. This laser can only strike people when they are near to us, and that's pretty fantastic. The fire laser is relatively good when there's one person, but if you get loads of people in front, then that laser can demolish your entire squad in front. And there's also bombs as well, where we can blow things up, and guided missiles. Somebody's got a lock on me at the moment. Round complete. That first level, we've managed to get 4th, and that first level is really easy and gets the player used to the controls. There's nothing where the player can go wrong, and it's finding those shortcuts again, which is the difference between winning and losing in this game, and we have to win the entire championship to unlock the next
2,
one.
1, go!
Great things about this game is it's very difficult to flip the car over, and you can ride on the sides of the scenery and not get flipped over, which is great. And you'll see me bouncing around, but unfortunately on the second level, look at that, lava means that we're sinking to that, and that's one of the things that you'll have to avoid. You can see a pit in the cauldron. If you go into that pit you won't fry, and ordinarily fire doesn't harm us, nothing harms us on the level, not even this water. And if you find oil on the road, that makes us skid out. So usually the car mechanics are great. If you scrape the side, it won't really slow the game down, so you can bounce off the scenery a bit later on. For now, it's the art of trying to survive and trying to keep this car around the track, and sometimes they can get us with the weapons, and sometimes those crates are booby trapped, so we'll take damage if we pick those up. Luckily that's very few and far between, and luckily those things don't really severely damage the game, because you don't really get the booby trap ones. When you get a roll 4, they're usually a great set of power-ups. They are completely random, so you never know what you're going to find, and sometimes they can get you before you've got them. Always stick to vehicles on the driving side either, because you can also drive boats, and on this particular level you can see a giant octopus. It doesn't pose any problems, you won't get stuck on him, but you will get stuck behind boxes, and so you'll have to avoid boxes again. Also get stuck behind the scenery, so watch out for those arrows and drive avoiding all these pipes as much as possible. And this again is the easy level. Unfortunately the enemies can randomly make your life hell. Look at that whirlpool, you definitely do not want to get stuck in that. And look at that, it dragged me back. So if we can, sometimes we can blow up this middle section and take a shortcut through here, and that just means that's another great advantage to us, but usually we'll have to go around the long way. You can see all of our opponents always go around the long way, and we can dive in and try to take some places. If you get lost, you can always rely on that map, and it's always the opportunity to hold down the fire button, and I hardly ever brake. In fact, I don't brake at all on this first level. So if you crash into the side, just like Lotus 2, it won't harm us very much, and it means that we can just drive with our foot down through all of it.
3, 2, 1, go!
Great tip, if you get lost in this game, or if you're just trying these levels for the first time, it's great to rely on the other drivers to show us which way we are supposed to go. and they will hopefully veer away from these dead ends and these traps which are designed to slow us down. And the car handling will also make a difference on tight corners, which we'll definitely see later on. And in this section you can see we are miles behind the leaders. There is a cut through here which leads to a bridge, you can see it, but we missed the bridge unfortunately, so that means that we are reset on the track. The other cars mostly will avoid the bridge, so you can make up a lot of places if you get to that bridge and take that shortcut on this particular level. If you can't, you'll end up in 7th like we are at the moment, and that's not particularly good, particularly when I'm crashing out on all this cedar. There's only a few small things to remember, and the steps are definitely one of them. And then you can get down to the bottom of the steps, and then there is a workshop and a lab and another set of steps, and then go down to the cellar where we find rats diving around, and then it's outside again and down towards that cut through section, and once again we have a guided missile which helps, and a few of the guys have taken the cut through. Unfortunately for me, I didn't. The sound effects in this particular level are ripped from the Medieval game, and Chris Sorrell Medieval on the PS1, that's a tip off to him. And you might also hear Lemmings samples, particularly on this level, roll, that kind of thing.
3, 2, 1, go!
Actually a farmyard level, or the least favourite of my levels on the very first section, and if something spoils the races on the first section, this is definitely it, because it will lead around to a trap eventually, and if you take that trap that's fine, but if you don't, you might have to forfeit the entire level. See, on the left hand side there is a red barn which we are attempting to climb over the hard way, and going through the barn yard in this case. If you miss the barn turning, unfortunately you will die off the side, and it means you'll have to go around the level again. And you can see a question mark in the middle of the screen. That means that we've gone the wrong way, and until we find the right way again and jump over that gap, we cannot continue with that level. There's also a cut through section here, and if we take that cut through, that will give us lots of places. If not, we'll have to go the long way, and at this point it becomes an adventure because you can go any number of different ways through these levels. So it's kind of an open world game, and cut throughs, by the time you get to this point and avoid those pits of death, it becomes a hazard. But it's still fun to play this game. One of the most fun parts is this crazy section where you'll just have to follow the arrows, and luckily it gives you the arrows on this early section. As we shall see, those arrows don't appear on the later levels of the game, and it's great that we don't take any damage. There's no damage counter, we will not blow up. What we can do is sink into water or lava, and then we'll have to be reset onto that track. I also find the music is superb, and it's jolly to ride along to this music and avoid all this mayhem as well. And avoid that, whatever that may be. Sometimes you can't avoid things, but that works for the opposition as well as for you. So look where we are, almost down there, but not quite. And the advantage of playing these levels a few times means we can be familiar, and also with this shortcut, you can see the green car took the shortcut, and that means that we can beat these guys over and over again. We're down to 6th place due to those mechanics, and if we lose our way around the level, which is easily done, we'll have to rely on the map and maybe the other cars, otherwise we'll have to go around in circles and lose time. We are virtually now at the back of the pack, do not want to go down that pit of death, and so we're looping around now till the end of the level.
Two, one, go!
The AI can bounce off each other and can make mistakes, and you can take advantage of those. They don't drive absolutely perfectly. You can see sometimes the AI wobbles around like it's drunk. This is my favourite level on the first section of the game, the easy level, and you can see it's a fun Caribbean ride along sands and through the town as well, and there are a number of cut-throughs which we can take, and that means that we can easily get into the first place. One of them is up here. If we follow this car, that will trim out the long way around, and that means that we can gain time. All of the cars are virtually the same speed, but some of them are slightly quicker than others. This one is virtually top speed and it has great handling as well, so I definitely recommend the Dark Avenger car here if you want to complete the easy level the easy way. Sometimes it's difficult, sometimes you just wander off the path and get beaten up just by mistake, and sometimes the enemies can fire weaponry which writes off our chances just before the line. So just like racing games, this is random. You can't always rely on absolutely perfect driving styles to get through it. Sometimes you just have to memorise the level and get the right pickups, and I'm going the long way around this level, and that means that we're struggling, but thanks to those pickups we can survive. And so it's those random mechanics, particularly on this level, which I love, and this is the easiest level for my money on the first section of this game. Taking a look at all of the game, or virtually all of the game in this playthrough. We won't be checking out the time trials, and I think that's where you get most of the extra vehicles from. We can play the levels in any order, single player or multiplayer, and you can see that all of those are slightly different music as well. Checking out the championship, this is the medium level, once again the first time I've ever seen it, and you'll see a few mistakes in this particular playthrough because I'm not familiar with this level.
Three, two, one, go!
Medium level, otherwise known as the Silver Championship, is very difficult because it starts off with one of the hardest levels in the entire game, and is my least favourite level in the entire game because of the whirlwind you can see in front of us, and you have to memorise your direction before you get to that whirlwind because it will spin us round and it's very easy to get lost, and if we don't memorise the way to go, we can definitely be lost in this game. through the magnet there, and that really does drag us back towards that thing, then you're virtually on through to another loop of the game, but not before we go through yet another whirlwind section. And look, we're heading towards the mine. Can we get towards the mine? Well, maybe it's down here, maybe no. And this particular whirlwind can write off our chances, even if we've done 3 entire laps of the game, and I have no idea where I'm going at the moment. Some of the levels are extra special. Let's swap to the Formula 1 car and check out this one.
Go!
Noticed 2 arrows pointing directly in front of us, and we went left. That means we get to use the F1 car, and usually if you take the land route through these levels, it's slightly shorter but also harder as well. See some water and some other boats, and that's our rivals who've taken the water route. And as you can see on the map, there are 2 routes that you can take to complete this level. The F1 car doesn't really turn, but it has the speed, so if you can point that thing in a straight line and bounce off the corners, hopefully you won't lose too much time. Eventually we will loop the level, and I like this paradise, wherever that's supposed to be. It's very effective, and now just like Spy Hunter we can dive into the water. All of the vehicles in this game will change into a different boat at this stage. Because we're driving the F1 car, we're driving a very nifty catamaran or whatever that may be, instead of a boring old speedboat. And aiming these things is pretty difficult at the best of times, and you can follow the traffic to take the easy routes through this level, and that's probably the best thing I'd advise. Simply not kill the enemy in front and let that lead you all the way through it. Water levels compared to the racing levels are an absolute doddle, and so you can simply hold down that fire button and relax through these, and the turning ability of our speedboat is equal to the other speedboats. That means that the disabilities of the F1 car, i.e. can't turn for toffee, is equalised because we have the same boat as the other people. Towards the end of the level we can take another leap, and that brings us all the way back to the F1 car again, and you can see we are now in 2nd position because of those shortcuts. Fortunately, if you forget the way to go and think that you're taking a shortcut, that will lead to long delays. And having led all of this race, I'm now at the back. So the drivers have elected to take the speedboats instead of the jumping around route, and now we have to face all of that level all over again. This is the last lap of the level, and so we'll have to pull out all of the stops now to make up for that blunder. usual, anything can happen, and we end up being in third place, it looks like from that. We can use our defensive shield to protect us and hopefully get over the line. It's great to see the championship building up as we go through, and the leagues aren't so long that it takes forever to get through them. In fact, it only takes maybe half an hour to get through each of them, and so it's great, we can just dive on through. And of course we can change the number of laps as well. The default is 3, but you might want 5 laps, and that gives us the advantage over those enemies. On this particular water section we can find another cut through, you can see on the map, and by taking that really does cut out the long section of this level, and that's definitely my tip for this one. As long as, once again, you remember the right way to go, otherwise you might find yourself at the back. Underwater graphics and things flying towards us and things, well, I'm not quite sure if that's an alien or something floating underwater, but you can see lots of graphics flying towards us, trains and things moving. Unfortunately, if you get caught in those things as they're moving, it will knock us back, so sometimes we'll have to time the entrance to these gates. And hopefully if the gates open just as we get there, that gives us a good chance. And as long as our piloting skills are alright, we won't collide with any of the scenery. You can always press the triangle button, that will reset us back onto that track. So in this game, I think it's the cut-throughs which really make the most difference, and memorising the track and making sure that you can get from A to B as quickly as possible. If you can't memorise those cut-throughs, or if you make those mistakes time and time again, then the enemies definitely will beat us, and then you deserve not to get a good place. But because of the randomness of this game, sometimes you can get a good place just by a fluke of it. This is the second hardest level and my second least favourite on the entire game. You have to go left here, even though there isn't really any arrows, and you so-called disappearing to the right. I have no idea where that cut through is, but we're going to have to go through the long way through the books, and you have to memorise this level to go right here and get through to this section right again here, climb all the way up, and then ignore all these sections. And again, a car disappeared. Well, that's supposed to be a quick way, and luckily an arrow shows us the way to go. So following the cars, because this is the first time I've ever seen this level, I'm getting completely lost. And you can see on the map there are lots of passageways and cut-throughs that we can take in the game. Unfortunately, I'm going the wrong way at the moment. That's because once we get to the entrance hole, we're supposed to go outside, and trying to turn this car and going outside isn't great at the best of times. Having done so, we'll have to take the left-hand route, and having done that, eventually the game will say, right, you're back on target, and the question mark will disappear. Oh no, it's the wrong way again. So you can see some driving ability is needed to play this game, and if you can, it's fun, but if you can't, it's a menace. Let's see if we can find that cut-through section. I can't see any loose floorboards in here, so we'll have to follow the other guys. You can see this level is a write-off, and as I say, my second least favourite in the entire game. After that, it goes to one of my favourites again, where you just have to hold down that button and take on the enemies. Revenge Pro was released in the year 2000, and anybody who's played the Revolt game on the PS1 will be familiar with this. Its original title was Revolt 2, and then they changed the name to RC Revenge for the PS1 release. So RC Revenge is Revolt 2, and then they basically gave this a PS2 makeover and called it RC Revenge Pro. The only difference, as far as I know, is the graphics are slightly upgraded on the PS2 version. The designer of this game, Nick Harper, went on to design Dakar 2 for the Dreamcast, and also Grid 2, which appeared on PS3. Too many of these Micro Machines racers, and this might also remind you of Splashdown as well. And look at that, the Formula 1 car at the end of all that, we made it into first place. That was the end of that playthrough that you saw, and after warming up on those levels I actually managed to get first place. So it is possible with the F1 car, despite that write-off on many of the levels. I've now unlocked the Gold Cup and another car. Let's pile into the championship and check out the new car, and of course we'll have to experiment with all of these cars to find out which ones are your favourites. Some of those are good and some of those aren't good. We've just unlocked a Jeep, so let's play with the Jeep. And this is the hard levels, again, the very first time I've seen it.
3, 2, 1, go!
The thing about the hard levels is they are longer, but they're not necessarily harder, because that menacing medium level with the whirlwind that it starts with, and then that horrible haunted house bookcase level is a menace, and I hate those medium levels. On the hard levels it's actually very easy, it's just longer, and I actually love the hard levels in this game. Once again, it's the art of taking shortcuts, and we'll have to watch those other drivers to make sure that we find all those, because I've just missed one, and that means we're all the way back down in 6th place again, and so we'll have to look out next time and try to find those shortcuts. Fantastic to have revenge on the guys, and maybe this is RC Revenge. This is one of those games where you collect power-ups on your way around to defeating those enemies, and it reminds me of maybe Downtown Run on the PS2, and of course Mario Kart. You go around collecting items, and that makes all the difference on the level. Of course Roll Cage as well on the PS1. Roll Cage, hopefully I'll get around to reviewing that at some point. And Roll Cage is a favourite game where you go around, and of course the collectables make all the difference. Sometimes it's very frustrating, and sometimes it's very impressive when those enemies take each other out on your behalf and you just slide straight through. In this game they don't write off the player, and they don't bump them into the lava or the molten plasma in this case. They drive quite cleanly, so you don't have to worry about the enemies, and in the scenery there isn't too many opportunities to get killed, which is fantastic. There's nothing worse than spikes and lots of things which kill the player all the way around. The other thing is getting stuck on the scenery, and if you drive in a straight line, hopefully the road is definitely wide enough and definitely forgives a few knocks. can find that cut through section again, and maybe that's it to the left. I completely ignored it, and that means that we can avoid those cars. I like the lighting effects in this game, and this is played on ×2 emulation, so we get this in 720p, which is kind of medium low def these days, but if you upgrade this on an emulator, you can have this playing on ×4 or ×6, so it looks immaculate. And for me, this is one of the better remote control racers. It's a pity that there is only maybe 6 or 7 levels in the game, of which you simply play longer versions of those as you get through each of the championships. But those 6 or 7 different areas or worlds are varied, and it's always a pleasure to get back to the pirate ship levels because it has funky music. And those crabs that you see on the beach, if you lob a bomb at those, they'll blow up. If you lob water at them, you can trap them, and if you put oil on the road, they'll actually slip over and fall down. So there is humour in the game, and the sound effects give away that there's pubs and bars as well, and there's a sunset in the distance. This is the very first time I've seen this, so let's see if we can hold it together. I don't want to overtake this guy in front, and I actually slow down so that I can follow him, because this is a winding maze around the town, and I'm not confident at this point that I can get all the way around the track on my own. So let's have him hold our hand all the way through it. Like the other pirate level, this is absolute fun all the way, and there aren't that many cut-throughs either. You can see on the bottom of the map there is one cut-through section, but if you make a mistake and dive into the water, there are no bungee mechanics on offer in the game, so the other players will not catch up from the back if you have a massive lead. But if you have a small lead and make one mistake, then they will overtake. So it's the art of catching up and trying to not make those mistakes. And so, avoiding this earthquake, let's try to nip in and take the quicker route. And of course, the enemies take that route as well. And avoid all of that landscape. Back round for another level. That was simply the first lap. See, the enemies don't get any tougher as we go through it, and they don't get in any amazing special vehicles either, so we don't have to worry about taking on amazing vehicles, but we can get amazing vehicles if we go around and play the time trials that will unlock all of the best vehicles in the game. And so this is a Jeep, and it's okay, it has an average good top speed and average good acceleration, and as you can see, its turning circle is pretty nimble, and it's also very twitchy. You can see I'm pushing it left and right, and it's doing a very quick 45-degree turn just by pressing that button once. So the Jeep is very twitchy, but that's precisely what we need on these hard levels. Great that the sound effects change as we're going through different areas, and I think it's great that the AI doesn't change, so they are idiots from level 1 to all the way through to the Platinum level, which is the 4th championship. The Platinum Cup is of course hidden until you've completed all of the others. I definitely recommend getting a special car for that, but I've never actually seen that one because this is a live play. This is as far as I've ever got with the game. This is the hard mode, and I've just managed to sneak into position 1. Fortunately, this game does have its quirks, and one of those is you can't drive off the road into the water. It's fun on different levels, and it's quirky on different levels, and again it reminds me of all the other games we collect the collectables, and it's fun to drive through these landscapes. If it wasn't for the whirlwind section in the medium levels, and that hideous bookcase horror level where it doesn't give us any arrows or indication of which way to go, then the rest of the tracks in this game aren't only fun, but they're really fun, and it's a great way to waste time, drive around and try to get that first place. In the meantime, we made a mistake, so we got second and very healthily rewarded for our position. Let's see where we are. We have 12 points. Let's see if we can catch up on that next level. Hard mode adventure playground is even easier than the medium and even easier than the easy mode, because all we have to do is to follow the track and it barriers off that track, and you can see I'm dropping because I thought I made a mistake, and you can see all of the enemies dropping in front of us, and that meant, ooh, that must be the way to go. So even mistakes in this game can lead to cut-throughs, and the way I went is actually the fastest way through that particular section of the level. You can see the red barn is coming up, and we shall avoid the barn and go around the long way, which is fantastic. And the only menacing part of this entire level is these sharp hairpin bends, and so we'll have to have a nimble vehicle. Also get to drive through the chicken coop, and you can see chickens and all those feathers, and it's great that we're driving around these RC cars through all this scenery and all these mad trees and sheep jumping up and down in real time. None of this seems to slow down the game. So it's mad in a kind of a Jeff Minter style of mad, and that's fun. It isn't outrageous, but at the same time it doesn't take itself too seriously, particularly with these graphics. And so let's move down to another cut through section, and you can see the hole in the side. That's particularly where we need to cut through. I missed it. That's the only cut through section on this hard mode, and that's fantastic. It means we can't make any mistakes, go down any pits of death, be whipped around by whirlpools. All we need to do is remember that one cut through section in this entire hard, in speech marks, level. See, this time we can make headway. We need to jump over here or fall through, and I piled on the bricks and didn't make it. You can see that means that we can overtake those guys and get through the level. So, even though this is an amazing game, it doesn't offer anything new to the genre, but if you like Revolt, then this is basically Revolt 2 Plus, released on PS2. Coming down towards that cut through section, do remember, no we don't remember to cut through in this particular case. So that means we'll have to loop all the way back around again to try to get there. And it's a long, hard road, all the way through this level. So I think this game is fun. It's not really massive on the variety front, but in multiplayer mode it can be fun. Unfortunately, you have to memorise a few of the early levels, and that gives you the advantage of the game. But having done so, I like the watery sections because they remind me of Splashdown, and I like all of the animations as well, and all of the ways that you can't die in the game and you can't flip over and write off a level just by taking risks. That's fantastic. It means that we can bump the scenery and get away with problems, and it also means we don't write off a level due to us falling off things and taking too much damage, because damage is not applicable in the game. I'd probably give this a 7 out of 10. I'd say it's not a massive addition to the franchise, and I've played tabletop games like Macro Machines, which did take this into a new genre. But this definitely is one of my favourite races on the PS2. It's one that I like to jump into every now and again. It's not very easy, and sometimes you might be frustrated when you run into a wall and end up in last place. But it's a game that you can come back to, given enough space and enough time between the different levels. Would I still prefer Splashdown 2? Yes, probably, over this game. But if you want just a quick jump-in action game, and you want to get some rewards and time trials and things like that, then maybe this is the game for you. For the final time, let's see if we can make it through the cut-through section. We're in 4th position, and as long as we remember where to go, we are in 3rd and battling for that 2nd position. Can we do it? Let's get that upgrade, and no, unfortunately, 3rd position. And that means we did not complete that championship in 1st place. But it was fun. That's the very first time I've seen those tracks. That Jeep is a handful. And look at that, 4th place according to that, but at the end we managed to get 2nd in the championship. So I'm just going to play a few cutscenes. Towards the end of the video you can see some 2-player mode action on the demo, and that doesn't slow down, it's great. Up to 8 players, and you can select the number of players, of course, in the options. And so we can even unlock a spaceship as well, and when we use the spaceship on the water sections, that will remain as a spaceship. But you can see, back to the worst level in the entire game, if it wasn't for this particular level, I would have enjoyed the game and given it a 7.5, but this one really is the pits, and it should have been stricken from the game from day one. So if you happen to play the medium level, you'll have that. So thank you.